everybody. First of all, boys and girls, I'd like to say how much I am missing you, but I hope that you are keeping home and that you are safe and well and being good for your mums and dads and grown-ups at home, because that's really important at the moment. I've got a new book for you to enjoy, and it's taken from David Walliams' The World's Worst Teachers. I am not in there, thank goodness, and neither is anybody from school. And we thought we'd do this a little bit differently today. So we thought we'd do a try not to laugh challenge. I don't think it's going to go very well because he's giggling already. So, see what I mean? So we're going to have a go. The story is called Dr. Dread. That was my dog. And the Chair of 1,000 Farts. This is a horror story. Do I dare read on? No? Turn to the next story then. If you said yes, you've been warned. And don't blame me if you have nightmares. Dr. Dread was the most horrifying teacher that stalked the earth. He was half man and half monster. The science teacher revelled in his own horrifying appearance. He loved the fact that all of the kids at Grunge Hill were absolutely terrified of him. The man smirked to himself as they darted out of his way. Dr. Dread's face was permanently scrunched up like an angry walnut, holding a monocle in place. He looked as if he had just one beady eye, like a cyclops. He had long ginger sideburns or mutton chops creeping all the way down to his chin. Ginger hair exploded from his nose and ears like wildfire. His teeth were long and pointed like fangs, and his nose was a wonderland for warts. He always wore the same white lab coat, except this white lab coat had not been white for years, as he had never, ever washed it. It was so thick with grime and grease that it was actually a deep shade of brown. There were so many stains on it. There was egg and some brown sauce, some blood, some cream cheese, custard, snot, spaghetti sauce, drool, lard and marmalade. And if you dipped it into some boiling water,
maybe not blood, maybe ketchup.
Maybe ketchup. You could have made soup. Dr. Dread had sandals on his feet so he could show off his terrifying toes. They were a sight so bad that it would give you a fright, with their long claw-like nails, open sores and rancid foot cheese. When Dr. Dread marked your homework, it would be returned with all sorts of nasties stuck to it. You'd have a bit of snot, a bit of drool, a bit of dandruff, a bit of nasal hair, fingernail grot, foot cheese, earwax, pus, a wart and a bit of a broken tooth. And something purple that, even though it's been sent to a lab, no tests were done that knew what it was. So far, so monstrous. But I haven't told you the most horrifying thing about Dr. Dread yet. His bottom burps. He blew off all of the time. His trumps were so frequent they may have been continuous. There was less time when Dr. Dread wasn't passing wind than when he was. The slightest movement was enough to make the teacher release his poisonous gas. Sitting down, getting up, bending over, straightening up, coughing, sneezing, throwing, catching, scratching an itch, breathing, blinking, thinking. Dr. Dread's palps were so strong that they were actually visible. A trail of bubbles followed him around the school. His chair in the science room was known as the Chair of 1,000 Farts, since Dread sat there for hours at a time, releasing cubic metre after cubic metre of bottom gas. The chair was highly toxic. Once, as a dare, a girl put her nose right up against the seat of the chair and immediately she passed out and slumped onto the floor. Thud. When she couldn't be revived, an ambulance was called. The girl was rushed to hospital, where she just was in an isolation ward for a week. Beep, beep, beep. Months later, the girl returned to school, but she was never the same again. During lessons, she would just be sat at the back of the class, staring forward, silently rocking, looking unspeakably at horror in her eyes. So if the one thing the pupils in Dr. Dread's science class did anything wrong, he had a perfect punishment. He would make them sit on the chair of 1,000 farts. No, no, the children would cry, not the chair of 1,000 farts, anything but that. Dr. Dread would grin, baring his fangs. Yes, boy, come here, he would say, beckoning as he rose up out of his chair, of course leaving one last brown bubble behind him. The children would then be led to the chair and ordered to sit. Reluctantly they would. The entire class would look at the poor Dread's victim, feeling the bottom burp slowly engulf them. Oh, they would scream as Dr. Dread would let out an evil cackle. Wha ha ha. Right, anyone else dares to talk in my lesson? And then there would be silence. Now one day, a boy arrived at Grunge Hill, who would become the greatest teacher's foe. A boy so gruesome he made Dr. Dread look like a beautiful princess. You might think that that would be impossible, but you would be wrong, because the boy that you've not met was called Bog. Bog has a name. Hello, my name is Bog. No smiles, okay. Bog was a boy, looked like he'd risen from a swamp rather than born. Are you smiling under that? No one knew if Bog was his real name or not, but it was certainly very apt. Like a bog, he was damp and muddy. He had worms in his pockets. He had twigs and leaves and hair and moss growing out of his ears. And when the boy walked, there was a sound of squelching. Not so only was he gruesome to look at, but Bog was bad too. Immediately he became known as the baddest boy in school. Are you the baddest boy in school? Oh, goodness for me. Bog never did his homework. His excuse? I ate it. Which was true. When the teacher became very angry, Bog would snort with laughter. He swiped all of the loo rolls from every toilet in the school, and then he wrapped up the history teacher, Mr. Obsolete, in it while he was snoozing, and so when he woke up he looked like an Egyptian mummy. The next thing he did was he pinched all of the library books and he tore out all of the pages to wipe his bottom on them, even though he never really normally wiped his bottom. He put the wiggliest, waggliest worms inside the girls' shoes when they were outside playing netball, and when they slipped their feet back in, they were horrified. He let the air out of the footballs and replaced them with his own bottom burps, so that every time someone kicked a ball, a stink came out. He snotted on the floor just outside the boys' toilet until he created a big pool, and then he hid behind the lockers and he watched the boy after boy slip over onto their bottoms. He started a snowball fight with mashed potato in the dinner hall. Bog made sure that every kid got hit with a mashed ball right in the face. He nicked a pot of purple paint from the art room, and then he painted his bottom purple, and he covered the walls in purple bum prints. I hope I'm not giving him ideas. He dropped a slippery, slappery, slurpy slug down the back of a boy's shirt. He tricked some younger children into swallowing live tadpoles, telling them that they were chocolate yummy balls. However, Bog would save his worst behaviour for the science lesson. He knew he'd met his match in Dr. Dread, and he was hell-bent on getting the better of him. If the boy had been warned not to spill the bubbling liquid he was holding, because it would burn through the worktop, then Bog would pour it straight on. If Bog was ordered not to stick the iron filings to his face to create a comedy beard, he would do it anyway. If Bog was told to never mix two acids together as they would cause an explosion, Bog would do just that. "Bog!" Dread barked one afternoon, spraying the entire class with his spit. "You are in deep, deep doo-doo." "What have I done now, sir?" replied Bog with a smirk. "You've stuck this piece of paper to my back." Dr. Dread turned around, and on his back there was a sign that read, "Beware toxic gas." All of the rest of the children in the class sniggered nervously. "Quiet!" boomed the teacher. And there was quiet. Dread continued. "Bog, I have the perfect punishment for you. The one that is guaranteed to reduce even the naughtiest of children to floods of tears. Bog, I command you, you must come and sit in my chair of 1,000 farts. Wah, ha, ha." As the teacher rose from the chair, all eyes in the science room turned to the back of the class. To the surprise of all of the children, Bog let out a big fat grin on his face. "Oh, gladly, sir," the boy replied brightly, and with that he hopped off his stool and skipped to the front. Before Dread could order the boy to sit, he'd already sat onto the chair. Sighed Bog. His nostrils flared to savour the scent, like a cartoon child sniffing gravy in a television commercial. "Oh, what a delicious aroma!" Dr. Dread looked lost. "But boy, this is my chair of 1,000 farts," he thundered. Bog's expression turned to one of quiet concentration. Then a trumpeting sound came out of Bog's bottom. "Make that 1,001, sir!" sniggered all the kids. "Silence!" thundered Dread. This only made them laugh more. "Ha, ha, ha! I said silence!" It was too late. Dread had lost control of the class. "Get back to your place at once, he bellowed. The boy jumped up, and with a spring in his step, he bounced back to his stool. The teacher slumped back down into his chair of 1,001 farts, feeling defeated. And if that wasn't bad enough, Dread began choking. "Ugh!" He seized his neck with his hands. He retched. "Bog!" That stink bomb that Bog had left behind was absolutely lethal. It was far worse than his own bottom bubbles. In comparison, they smelled like sweet perfume. The bell for the end of the lesson rang, and the still choking